Character name, Noxus, Lost One, Infected Assassin, and Knight of Knights. Originally debuted October 2010. Overall look and changes. Noxus is supposed to look sleek and deadly, with a shadow infection covering the left side of his body. His original concept was a simple Enika build with a silver and trans-blue color scheme. This version was short-lived, however, as he was rebuilt shortly after as a Titan-sized Mach with the same color scheme, this time introducing the iconic shadow infection and sporting a set of wings. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of this version, as the Mach wasn't very good, and it could barely stand. Noxus's first real version debuted on Mach pages, where he was teased with this image before his release on Halloween 2010. This version was also the first version I called my Self-Mach. Since then, Noxus has retained a very similar design, though the build itself has been slowly updated piece by piece. In 2012, I revealed Noxus's Knight of Knights form, which was just a color swap, removing the shadow infection and bringing back the blue, only this time dark blue rather than trans blue. Here are some of the most notable changes from Noxus's first release. Character bio. Titles and occupations. Noxus was originally from the planet Luna Magna. That means he has an underlying ability to control moonlight elemental energy locked within him. He was removed from Luna Magna by Motunui, who placed him within the Matoran universe to study him. Eventually, Noxus wound up in Cardinui, where he lived until he was attacked by Makuta Vampra shortly before the events of Bionicle 2008. Now suffering from a quickly spreading shadow infection and drowning in the swamps of Cardinui, he came across a Kanohi Trina that was emanating Toa energy. He donned the mask, which ended up transforming him into a Toa, stopping the shadow infection from spreading, but also making it permanent, thus becoming a Toa of metal and shadow. Due to his uniqueness as a Toa, Noxus was invited to join the Order of Motunui's Assassin Division. There, he was trained and quickly rose in the ranks until becoming the Order's top assassin directly under Tobduk. While working for the Order, Noxus eventually wound up back on Luna Magna, where he was sent to recover a certain artifact. Later, he would receive assistance from Laymera, the princess of Luna Magna, and be supercharged with moonlight energy using a machine she developed, a process which suppressed Noxus's shadow infection and unlocked his moonlight abilities, allowing him to reach his maximum potential as a Toa of metal and moonlight. Personality. Even after having his memories wiped as a Matoran, Noxus kept his personality. He's a hard worker who's not too motivated. He's also somewhat shy and doesn't have many friends, but he is still loyal and trustworthy to his allies. After being infected and transforming into a Toa, Noxus felt self-conscious about his shadow infection and typically prefers not to use it if possible. When he was given the offer to join the Order of Motunui, Noxus agreed on the condition that they'd help him be rid of the infection, which the Order agreed to. While training, Noxus sought to improve his powers and skills whenever possible, not in search of excessive power, but in search of mastery, thus allowing the Order to mold him into the perfect assassin. The Assassin Division of the Order of Motunui puts a heavy toll on the Toa who work there. Toa are usually bound by a code of honor known as the Toa Code, a subjective law that prevents Toa from killing their foes. This code extends beyond just a mere guideline to uphold their image, however. It's ingrained in their spirits. A Toa cannot kill without feeling the underlying guilt from their actions, even if it was done out of necessity. This is why Toa were never originally supposed to join the Order of Motunui in the first place. Helryx was forced to change this rule when the Order experienced heavy losses at the hands of Flandrix and the Brotherhood of Makuta. Noxus's shadow half lightens the burden of killing on his spirit, but this also reinforces its hold over Noxus and forces him down a path of darkness. Abilities and powers. Noxus's base element is metal, an alternate universe version of the element of iron found in the Matoran universe that is not limited to just iron. At a basic level, he can control, absorb, bend, reshape, heat up, and cool down any type of metal. His shadow infection, however, reduces his elemental power, so he's not able to create metal. Noxus's infected side also has limited shadow elemental powers. With just his left side, he can create, control, and absorb shadow energy. But any usage of his infected side causes it to grow stronger, risking possible spreading of the infection. His infected side also shares the same weaknesses of a Toa of Shadow, being especially vulnerable to the element of light. After being supercharged with moonlight energy, Noxus temporarily enters his Knight of Nights form. In this form, Noxus's shadow infection is suppressed, granting full control over his metal elemental powers, allowing him to create metal, control it even more effectively, and in larger quantities. This form also unlocks his moonlight elemental powers, allowing him to create, control, and absorb moonlight elemental energy. Important possessions. Noxus carried various tools and weapons during his time as a Matoran, including a pickaxe, sickle, and Ninra Ghost Blaster. Noxus's most important possession is the Luna Dial, a legendary artifact that he was granted permission to use from the king of his home planet Luna Magna. The artifact is capable of stopping, slowing down, and speeding up time for whoever is touching or wearing it, but only when it's powered by moonlight energy. The artifact can wirelessly draw energy from the planet Luna Magna, but it needs line of sight to do so, and in Noxus's Knight of Nights form, he can power the Luna Dial himself. Theoretically, the Luna Dial's powers could also be amplified when combined with those of Mars's Master Spark, thus allowing time travel or transportation into alternate timelines. Noxus also possesses a wide variety of weapons, including a sword and dagger. His sword's edge is lined with protodytes, which separate any material the sword is cutting down to a molecular level, allowing it to cut through pretty much anything. He also carries a weapon designed by Solinus called a Tesla Lance for large-scale battles. It's capable of being held several different ways and can fire lasers from one end. By absorbing the metal inside the Tesla Lance, Noxus can reduce its size to make it easier to carry, compacting it to just its mechanical components and storing it on his back. Noxus also uses his metal powers to create other, smaller weapons, including a hand-mounted hook, blade, and a seemingly unending supply of throwing knives, his favorite weapon. Be careful not to make him angry, or you just might get knifed. Noxus also wears gauntlets on either arm, which have the capability of folding outwards. These gauntlets can be used as mini-shields. When fully folded out, the gauntlets also function as jet boosters, granting Noxus the ability to fly. Matoran Noxus wore a Kanohi Pakari, the Great Mask of Strength, which was lost in the swamps of Kardanui before he transformed into a Toa. Toa Noxus wears a Kanohi Trina, the Great Mask of Reanimation, and a Kanohi Huna, the Noble Mask of Invisibility, which he gained after joining the Order of Matanui. Mach Analysis. Inspiration and Theme. Noxus is inspired by several different sources, including Assassin's Creed characters like Ezio Auditore and Connor, as well as another character from the Toho Project games, Sakuya Izayoi. He borrows aspects from all of them, such as weapons, fighting styles, occupations, and powers. It's also worth noting that Sakuya's character was inspired by Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. She even has a spell card called The World where she stops time, so parallels can be drawn between all three of them. Noxus's artifact, the Luna Dial, gets its name from one of Sakuya's themes, Lunar Clock, Luna Dial. Noxus's title of Knight of Nights is also taken from a remix of another of Sakuya's themes, Flowering Night. The remix is titled Knight of Nights with an N. Sakuya's stage theme, The Maid in the Pocket Watch of Blood, is my personal favorite of her themes, so I chose that to be Noxus's theme. Noxus's theme is a remix of this song, performed by Dematori. Mach features. Noxus has connection points on his hands that allow him to hold his weapons. He also has connection points on his hips to sheath his sword and dagger, and a flex tube prevents them from getting in the way of articulation. There's also a bit of empty space in his lower limb designs that are perfect for storing his throwing knives. Noxus can store up to 8 knife pieces in this manner. Noxus's custom hand design has 4 fingers, allowing him to hold knives in between his fingers with friction. Matoran Noxus stands 6.5 inches tall and roughly 4 inches wide. Toa Noxus stands 9.25 inches tall and 5 inches wide. Mach articulation. Overall, Matoran Noxus has 11 points of articulation. He has full ankle and hip mobility, almost full head articulation that's somewhat limited on the sides, shoulder articulation badly limited in the front and back, awkward but full elbow mobility, and a very slight bend in the wrist. Both Toa forms of Noxus have 24 points of articulation. He has full ankle mobility, a slightly greater than 90-degree knee bend, almost full hip mobility slightly obstructed in the front, a decent bend in the torso, almost full head articulation which is slightly hindered on the left side, full rotation of the shoulder with severely limited outward reach, a slightly less than 90-degree elbow bend, and full wrist and finger mobility. Interesting building techniques. The chain for the Luna dial is only secured with friction, basically being stuffed in the back of the torso and pinched by the backplate. Noxus's head is entirely built out of upside-down system, using Lego studs as the eyes. Notable flaws. As previously stated, Noxus has a significant amount of articulation issues, most notably in the shoulders. It's possible for him to extend his arms outwards, but this causes his torso construction to be pulled apart. I have to check this connection fairly often to be sure that it isn't coming apart. Posing the Luna dial for pictures is also frustrating, as there's not a solid way to hold its position facing forwards. It also hangs facing downwards most of the time. Fun facts. Noxus's hand design is simply a modified 1x2 plate with a handlebar, superglued to a socket connector, allowing for more finger connections and optional attachments on the back of the hands. The 2x2 round plate that makes up the base of the Luna dial also has an extra notch carved in it to allow the chain piece to connect like so. Overall thoughts and criticisms. Noxus may be one of my oldest surviving mocks, but he's still just as aesthetically pleasing as always. I've managed to keep his original look from my very first release, with only minor updates to keep up with the times. Any changes I hope to make in the future will continue this trend, and I would like to fix his shoulder articulation, as well as add some connection points to potentially increase his overall arsenal of weapons. Sure, his articulation issues may currently make him more of a display piece than an action figure, but my design philosophy has always been to prioritize character over build, and for that reason I think Noxus still holds up to this day. What would you rate this mock out of 10? Any questions about the build or the character? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.